I'd like to welcome you all to our first Blackpool Illuminations outing.
Kyle,
Yes.
have you been to the beach?
Not in a long time.
But when you go to the beach, what do you like to do there?
I like to build sandcastles.
But do you like to go and meet your friends at a restaurant and then you realize it's like at Chippendales halfway through?
Well, yeah, that happens every time you go to the beach, right?
That's true. Every restaurant you walk into.
Is a Chippendales.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, here is the wonderful, the incredible, the Annette Funicello to my Frankie Valli. Here is Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn, and this is another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the show where two guys watch movies and then form opinions about them. Because we're on the internet, and that's what you do, and it's all random.
Because our opinion matters most.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen to us. All right, before we go, let's say what we watched here. We watched Bhaji on the Beach.
Yes.
And, well, we'll get into the title later because I don't even know what the Bhaji is.
I thought it was someone's name.
Well, maybe it was, and I missed it.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, before that, though, what you watching?
I don't know,
It's time
Kyle.
for What You Watching.
I don't know, Kyle. What are you watching?
I watched a few things. I watched a Vietnam War movie called Hamburger Hill with the, there was a lot of Vietnam movies come out in the 80s, and Hamburger Hill was the one that I had never seen before, so I watched it for the first time, and it was like the B and C list celebrity Vietnam movie. You have like the Michael J. Fox one, and then you have like a Full Metal Jacket with some big stars.
You've got like...
this one is like what Dylan McDermott and I can't even think of who else was in it. It was all... There were some good actors in there, but like names that weren't like real big stars or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was just another Vietnam movie. Pretty brutal at the end with the hill they were going up and everything. So
Was it 85 or 90% lean, the hamburger?
It was 87, 1987. And moving on. I watched 5 Feet Apart. Have you heard of this one?
No, is it like 6 feet under? But they're only 5 feet under?
No, they're gonna be 6 feet under. It's this hospital that what is cystic fibrosis? I think they have a bunch of patients in there with that. Well, it's I think is that the one with the lungs? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that's what it is, and because they catch things easily, well, they're supposed to stay at least 6 feet away from each other because they can catch stuff easier from each other, like their viruses or whatever. Well, of course, 2 of them fall in love, and then there's a pool cue is only about 5 feet apart, so like they go on their little date in the hospital. The thing that I noticed through this whole movie is this hospital really sucks at like keeping an eye on all the kids. They like break into like the kitchen. They have like a dinner there. They break out of the hospital. The nurse is always like concerned about, oh my God, where'd they go now? It's like, is nobody watching these patients at all? Like,
So I assume it's got like 1 foot in modern medicine and 1 foot in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I think so. It was kind of a madhouse. They're just all over the
The
place.
past Calendar Man who's just... Calendar Man, what day is it?
Like, we found a new lung for this person. Where are they? Oh, they're out on the ice. What did they doing out there? Well, we don't really watch them here.
So did they get closer than 5 feet apart?
They did. But,
And then they both died.
Yeah, everybody died.
Because they were stung by bees or something. They got migrilled.
I wasn't a huge fan just because I was like, what is this hospital? That I was so focused on that through the whole movie.
Kind of distracting from the main story.
Yeah. I watched The Firm because I haven't seen that since it came out. And I was like, wow, threw it on Prime. And that's a really good movie. It was such a good cast. Tom Cruise. It's a John Grisham movie.
The first John Grisham movie, if I remember correctly.
Was it the first one?
Yeah, because The Firm was his first book.
Oh, okay. Because then they went on to do Pelican Brief and The Rainmaker and 17 others or something like that in the 90s. Yeah, because this was in 1993. And this was a really good movie. I will say I didn't understand everything about like what they were going after the people for, like all of the minor details about it, but they kept you knowing just enough to like know, oh, okay, this to keep track of the movie, and it's a fun thriller. So I'd recommend that one.
But did Tom run?
Yes, and he jumped out a window even.
All right.
Younger Tom Cruise jumping out a window.
Yeah, it's always Tom Cruise. He likes running.
He does.
I remember seeing this like a supercut of just all of Tom Cruise's running
I've seen
scenes.
that too. Yeah.
And then at least Tom Cruise, he's not like a super like buff dude, and he's buff enough, but he's not like The Rock.
Yeah.
So when he runs, it looks like a human running, and then when The Rock runs, he's just like pulling so much more extra weight. It looks kind of weird.
I watched Under the Silver Lake, which was kind of interesting. This noirish type thing with Andrew Garfield.
Was there a gold lake?
No, just Silver Lake.
What was under
there's a bronze lake.
Did you find out what was under it?
Yes, and I won't say what it is because this was kind of.
It was the Loch Ness Monster, wasn't it?
I don't know if a lot of it made sense.
I think it was the Loch Ness Monster.
It was the Loch Ness Monster.
I knew it.
Way to spoil it for everyone.
Yes, just like that movie, The Water Horse.
With the little baby Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it just because I don't know how much of this movie even really made sense, but it was a fun journey to watch it.
But does it go full Serenity?
I have not seen Serenity yet, so
we'll get to it.
I'll eventually watch that one.
I know you'll get to it. It's something special.
I watched the new Hellboy, and I kind of liked it. I think I would like. It wasn't great per se, but like I like David Harbour in the role enough that I would totally watch a second one if they went and made another one. I thought
does the Baba Yaga show up with her chicken leg house?
Yes, I think there was a scene with something like that. Yeah.
I heard it was kind of hard to follow. So I mean, how familiar are you with the comics?
I've read a couple, but I'm not like a super. I love Hellboy when I do read it, but I'm not like a super hardcore fan. So, but I didn't have any problem following this movie, like the plot line and the story and everything. I thought it was it all made sense to me.
You're not that far deep in the timeline where you're reading all like the BPRD collections with like
no, but I have read some of that. I do have some of those.
Plague of Frogs, Hell on Earth.
I might have the Plague of Frogs one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. And, it was different than the Guillermo del Toro ones, which I actually like both of those. But I would totally watch David Harbour be Hellboy again. I think he was good in the role. I watched Replicas with Keanu Reeves. That felt like a 90s sci-fi thriller. Because it was like, even the computers, like the Minority Report computers where you're just like waving your hands in the air and moving things around, or like Johnny Mnemonic or whatever. it's Johnny Mnemonic 2.0.
Yeah, but was the dolphin there from Johnny Mnemonic?
No dolphins.
Well, that's really disappointing.
It was a cheesy 90s thriller, like something you pop on like a Sunday afternoon or something.
When you're flipping through and it's on sci-fi.
Yeah. I rewatched Once Upon a Time in the West because I love that Western. It's one of my favorites.
Yep.
The score is one of my favorite scores of any movie, too.
It's Morricone?
Yeah, it is.
Of course it is.
I love the harmonica theme. If you like Westerns at all, even if you don't like Westerns, watch Once Upon a Time in the West. It's fantastic. I watched The Intruder with Dennis Quaid.
Was he the intruder?
Yes, he was the intruder. Dennis Quaid got to play a bad guy. He's just like this psycho.
Was he intruding on Randy Quaid?
I don't know if anybody wants to mess with Randy Quaid.
That's true. He's crazy.
Don't mess with him. He's crazier than you. This one was a pretty generic thriller too, but I'm a fan of Dennis Quaid, and I loved watching him play a bad guy. I think he was having fun with it. Mm-hmm. And then
I get Dennis Quaid confused with Bruce Greenwood for some reason. In my head, I can't place which is which.
I don't usually, but I can see that. Like, they're very similar style actors. And
yes.
Almost similar looking, too.
I think it's probably the look that confuses me more.
Yeah. And then, finally, I watched The Irishman on
All
Netflix.
of it?
I did.
One sitting?
I did, because there was a night this week that I actually got to sit down at about 7 o'clock instead of 8:30 or 9 when I usually sit down, and I got to watch the entire 3.5 hours in one sitting, and it's a good movie. I wouldn't say it's Scorsese's best, but it's a hell of a lot better than Silence. God, I hated that movie.
Everyone knows Scorsese's best movie is After Hours.
I still have not seen that.
It's so weird in the best sort of way.
I will say about The Irishman, obviously this is the de-aging movie with a bunch of 70-some-year-olds playing the roles of 40-year-olds. And I was not bothered by the CGI. The CGI actually looked pretty good.
I heard it's done very subtly and very artfully.
It is. And another thing that I really loved about this movie is Joe Pesci was back. And Joe Pesci was more subtle than he usually is, and he was so good in this movie. I love Joe Pesci in this movie through the whole thing.
Yeah, Joe Pesci is one of those actors where, like, you didn't really realize how good he was till he went into retirement.
Yeah, and then you're like, "Where's Joe Pesci?" I can't. Whatever Leo wants, Leo gets. The only thing that I will say is, yeah, this de-aging thing is fine.
Kurt Pacino even does pretty well in this one as Jimmy Hoffa.
He does, but I was discussing this with someone at work, and it was basically, he went Pacino. Like, he's Pacino in this movie.
Well, I like Pacino's acting style. It's bigger, definitely more theatrical.
It is, and so, like, I like it too. It's Pacino, not Hoffa, but like,
from what I understand, Jimmy Hoffa was actually kind of like that.
Then that's great then, because if he is, then they got the right person. Because I mean, Pacino is Pacino, and I love watching Pacino, and he goes full Pacino in this.
I guess before he became a bit of a living meme, I always really liked him in Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, that, and what was the corrupt cop one? Serpico. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Those are probably two of my favorite performances, because he's definitely more downplayed in them, but then sort of especially in like Dog Day Afternoon, as he's kind of slowly falling apart in this insanely stressful situation. It's really good.
The only other thing I have to say about The Irishman is the CGI was fine, and I watched a little half-hour thing on Netflix afterwards, like with Scorsese sitting down with Pacino and Pesci and De Niro, and they were talking about it, and Scorsese said something about how, like, you just think of this as like digital makeup, because we've been making people look older and younger in movies all the time with makeup. And I go, actually, that's a really good point. Mm-hmm. But my problem is these are all 70-year-old men. So like, there is one scene that De Niro has to beat someone up, and he's playing his 40-ish-year-old self, and he just looks like an old man who can barely flail his arms in the scene. And it just is so just like off-putting and weird. I almost laughed out loud at that scene.
Yeah, maybe they would have used, like, even if it's like for close-up shots of just like punches or stuff, they could probably use like a body double or something.
Yeah. So you can't hide your age in physical scenes if you're getting up there in age. Like, de-aging, maybe going from like, this was another thing we were discussing at work, was if you're going from like, a 50-year-old playing a 30-year-old, you can still do a lot of the same things.
Unless you're Paul Rudd, you look the same.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Then you just don't have to do any de-aging.
Yes.
But when you're 70...
Or Angela Bassett, who's 60 and looks like she's 30.
Yeah. When you're 70-some years old, though, and you're trying to play like a 40-year-old, you're an old man. Like, you can't do that. Like you just physically can't do that. And it kind of showed in the physical scenes in this movie. So, But other than that, I would recommend The Irishman. Even, I mean, as long as it is, it's a good movie. I liked it a lot.
Well, it is 1 1/6 Endgame, so.
Yeah. So, I would say my recommendations for the week then would probably be the two longest movies on my list. Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which is about 2.5 hours.
You mean in the West?
What did I say?
In Mexico?
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Although
yes.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico, isn't that
That's
a Robert Rodriguez movie?
Yes, I think so. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West, really good. And then I would recommend The Irishman. So good stuff. But on to the real meat of the matter here. We got Bhaji on the beach. Bhaji is on the beach.
In 1993.
1993. This is a 1993 independent feature. And I did not find a lot about this movie. Actually, I didn't really find anything about this movie. It was 89% on Rotten Tomatoes with 9 critics and 59% with 1,144 users. So it is... One thing I noticed is the director is... I'm going to nail this name.
I really should have looked it up beforehand, how to pronounce her in an interview with her.
Yeah, Gurinder Chadha.
Apologies.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm trying to say it right. This is her first feature-length film, and she also directed Bend It Like Beckham.
And she even had a movie that came out this year, Blinded by the Light. It was supposed to be pretty good.
Oh, did she direct that?
Yes.
Because I really want to see that one. I liked Bend It Like Beckham, and Blinded by the Light looked really good. So, well, interesting. So this was her first movie. So if you want to see where she got her start, it's on Amazon Prime. So what do we got going on with this movie? We got a bunch of women going to the beach.
In a word, I would describe it as an ensemble slice of life film.
Yeah. And it's a group of Indian women of different ages and different,
and they're all living in England. I mean, the younger ones were born there, and the older ones were immigrated there for a while back. So it's all, I guess, of Indian British women.
Yeah, so you've got the whole culture thing of the older women wanting to preserve the culture and the younger woman trying to expand and do other things and kind of break away from being so confined to their culture. So this was really weird because the movie is supposed to be a comedy drama, and I can't say that I really found a lot of stuff that I found comedy in here.
It's not kind of a comedy in the laugh out loud, rollicking good time.
It's more what is the dramedy, where it's mostly drama,
but then still some funny stuff happens.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure what to expect from this, but it kind of jumps around because it starts off with this. It's panning down a street, and you hear this really eerie music, almost horror music. And then we go into some the character Asha, which I started because I didn't know her name at the beginning of the movie. I was writing my notes, and she kept having hallucinations. We start in her hallucinations, so I started calling her, and they called her Auntie, so I started calling her Hallucinantie.
Nice.
So we got Hallucinantie.
I guess she's kind of stuck in this. She wanted more. She's kind of middle-aged, and she's stuck. She's working at this convenience store.
Yeah.
She's got a husband and a kid that I guess she doesn't really like that much, but she also still feels kind of bound by her religious upbringing. So when she does see these have these hallucinations or dreams or visions or whatever, there's always a big religious element to them.
Yeah, and she's the transitioning point. You have the older women that came from India and they're all about the traditions and getting married to another Indian and all this and everything about their culture. She was raised that way, even though she maybe she didn't immigrate from India, but she was raised that way. So her hallucinations always come in the form of this giant statue of their religion, like you said, and you just keep hearing these voices going, know your place. It's a woman's place to just be married to the man, and the man goes out and works, and in their culture, and she didn't go and do anything, but she wanted to. And then you get to the younger generation where they just go and do whatever they want. Yeah. So it's kind of like a step-by-step transitioning to being more into different cultures and not so much strict about what you're doing.
It is really nice. It's sort of explaining that whole spectrum of this immigrant experience of this time, versus the older immigrants versus kind of the second generation of their kids who just have always grown up in the UK. It's all they've ever really known. They want to do what other kids are doing because they're young.
Yeah. And then we've got one of the younger ladies. Her name is Simi, and she started it's a Saheli Asian women's group for all the women, because it's kind of to get the women together to get out of the house and away from what she wants to get away from the sexism and the racism that they have to deal with in their where they're living. And they do deal with that on the bus, or when they go to the pier or whatever. There's a scene in the restaurant where this racist diner owner starts yelling at them, and they come over here and blah blah blah, and
the usual
racist shtick.
Yeah, I mean they all say the same thing. They don't really have any new material.
Yeah. So apparently, like, there's a lot of comment about how it is a little racist in that area, and then I think maybe her being the younger generation, the sexism too, because like I said with Hallucinanti, she's having all these hallucinations about know your place, because she's supposed to know her place as a woman. You're supposed to be there for the man and raise your kids. And it's like, well, she wanted to do more with her life. And then you have the younger generation who did go out and do whatever. And you've got one who's got a kid, but then she left her husband. And so
she
like
was in an abusive relationship.
But nobody knows that, so they're all shaming her for leaving her husband and being a single mom. And then you find out that another girl, Hashida, not only had a relationship with a black man, so they're shaming her for that, but she also got pregnant. And so she's supposed to be the doctor,
And now she doesn't know what to do. She was like going to be the strong one who goes to school, goes to medical school, becomes a doctor, make her family proud. And she's like, I don't even like medical school that much.
Yeah.
I really just always wanted to be an artist.
And it's one of those culture things, again, where there's some cultures and where it's like, you have to do this. You have to go become a doctor because, you need to make our family proud.
Do this, make our family proud. Our family's not rich. If you become a doctor, like a business major or something, you can help establish that wealth.
Yeah.
That sort of generational wealth that they need.
So Simi gets everybody together on the bus, and then we're also joined by Rekha, who I called the Indian Judith Light. Because did she not look like Judith Light?
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry, it's because you're so old.
The mom from Who's the Boss?
I've never seen Who's the Boss, so I'm sorry. You're just an old man.
How old am I?
I don't know. I'm thinking at least 70.
I haven't seen Who's the Boss. What's wrong with you?
It was never on. Not even in reruns.
Oh, man. So Indian Judith Light doesn't do anything for you.
Nope. It means nothing. All I know is that one of them was Tony Danza.
Yes, Tony Danza's actually the grandmother was the boss, Mona. Mm-hmm. So they're all going to Blackpool, and they're calling it the Blackpool Illuminations outing. And
that is the name of the kind of this beach resort area that they go to.
Yeah, there's a pier with, kind of like you find in like California, like the dock, the pier there with the Ferris wheel and the whatever, the
like
dock,
Coney
and the
Island
gate.
kind of Santa Monica sort of thing.
Yeah, and so and
it's Blackpool, not to be confused with Deadpool.
Yes. So when they go there, Jinder is the one who's got the kid and left her husband, and so we've got like these other side things going on with did you notice that, like, I don't know if this was done for comic value or if it was just like the names that are like, there was so many rhyming names, like two of the younger girls who were good friends that were like, hanging out with the two cowboy guys, they were Ladu and Radu, and then Ranjit was the husband that Jinder left, and one of his brothers' name was Manjit, so it was Ranjit and Manjit. And then at one point, one of the ladies was talking in a parking lot to someone, and they go, "How's Sissy, Bissy, and Missy?" or something, like some weird 3 rhyming name. I was like, was that just a conscious decision to like be kind of silly with the names, or is like, do people like, or is there a lot of rhyming names with?
I don't know, but you're talking to a person whose dad comes from a family, and their names are Tim, Tom, Tammy, Terry, Troy.
That's a lot of T's.
Yes.
So did their parents Tim kind of like
probably. I'm sure they did at one point.
Kind of like my sister's name was Keely. I'm Kyle, and my younger brother's name was Paul. So like,
dang it, Paul.
He would always get Kikai Paul. But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of rhyming names. So Ranjit and his brothers Manjit and now I can't even think of the other one because the third one didn't actually rhyme. They're with their family, and his family's giving him shame for his wife leaving him, and so he's like, I got to get her back. They're like, you got to get her back and get your son back and all this. She belongs here and whatever, and hopefully they don't know that she was beaten or he was beating her too. But so he gets his brothers, and one is like a more rational, logical brother, and then one is just a rash, I'm just gonna beat everyone up brother, and and so like it's almost like Ranjit is like the middle because he gets angry, but then he also is a little calmer than his like more just volatile
the crazy brother.
The crazy brother. But they go around places and they find...
Like, where'd she go? Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Like, oh, she went to Blackpool. So then they're driving off to Blackpool. And then another side quest, not side quest, side plot. I wish it was a side quest. Was then the boyfriend of... which one was
Hashida.
Hashida's boyfriend and his friend are like, okay, where'd she go? Oh, she went to Blackpool. We got to go there and talk to her.
Because she went and talked to him at the beginning of the movie and... he said all the wrong things, and then he realized that was stupid, and he does love her, and...
So they call each other on the phone, they try and figure out what's going on.
And she doesn't want to talk to him because he said all the wrong things, so he decides he's going to just find her. So her family doesn't know she's even dating a black boy because that would bring shame to her family, so then everyone else on the trip finds out about it, and they give her shame and all that stuff, and There's a great scene where one of the older ladies in the diner, there was a lot going on in that diner.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, the two older ladies bring their own food into the diner. So then the diner, the person behind the counter gets mad at them and starts shouting racial slurs at them. But then they're just ignoring her and then going on and on about how shameful Hashida is because they see her in the next booth and they're speaking loud enough for her to hear. So then Hashida comes over and dumps coffee on the old lady.
Yeah.
And storms out of there. So.
It says, screw you, like F you, F you, F you, F everybody in this diner, pretty much.
Yeah. And
which felt satisfying.
Yeah, so there's a lot about the mistakes you make with going and doing whatever you want, but also there's growth with the older women by the end of the movie and Asha or Hallucinanti about accepting, being more accepting to like changes and going outside of your culture and exploring new things.
And Asha's plot is that around her whole day, she ends up hanging out with this sort of kind of goofy, eccentric British actor.
Ambrose.
Yeah. Kind of go around and wander around the Blackpool resort. Just have fun with her. Almost kind of in a very kind of fun, flirty sort of way. Because, she wants that, but then, of course, she can't really do that because she's still got her husband and family at home. Yeah.
And she gets a glimpse of what it could have been like if she hadn't been so bound by the rules of her culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of montages in here, about when they get to the pier. So you got your montage scenes. There's the other two young girls. They find these two carnival workers that have like these cowboy outfits on. And they kind of follow them, or the boys kind of follow those two girls around and end up going and hanging out with them and going out and eating and going on the Ferris wheel where one of the girls throws up over the edge because, you always got to have a throw up scene on a Ferris wheel, right? And so that was their story. They were more basically there for like the support of some of the other characters. So they just kind of gave them a side plot of these two boys like them.
Yeah, this film definitely, I always found it, I really enjoyed how it was written, and I always felt it was very well structured, because sometimes a lot of those ensemble type movies can get kind of messy, and you can kind of lose, like you have one plot that starts and then just kind of disappears halfway through the film. Everything felt complete. All the side plots felt like they resolved or in some sort of way by the end of the film, or at least if they didn't resolve, they kind of came to a head.
Yeah, because there was a couple open-ended things that but you had an implication of where it was going.
Like, you don't know what Asha's going to do when she gets home,
Yeah.
And I guess the big plot that came through was, which one is the one with the...
Jinder, with the boy.
Jinder? Jinder, okay. Not Ginger, Jinder. Got it. And Jinder has this very big part where, she almost gets abducted by her husband and his crazy brothers.
Yeah, because he actually goes to abduct the kid.
Yeah, so
and then he's scary. Like, and actually that that was one thing that, like, this movie, the score was all over the place. I will give it that. Like, there's some fun upbeat music, like Indian music, and then there's some that like sounded like 80s comedy music, like comedy movie music. And then there was like the scene where now I can't remember the little boy's name. He's under the pier. He gets away from his mom and he's under the pier, and there's this almost like this horror-ish type score that's almost like reminded me of like Halloween music from like the 78 Halloween.
Nice.
and it was like, this score is all over the place. Like this is a horror scene right here. And I mean, it kind of is, because the dad comes out from behind the pier like Pennywise the clown, you know, like pops out all of a sudden. It's like, I'm your daddy. Come with me. It's like, no, dude, you're creepy, dude. But the whole time, it's implied that he was abusive, but you never really know for sure until until
this big confrontation.
Well, until the end of the movie, when they all get to, the whole thing is they're going to meet at 6:30 at a bar called Manhattan's,
which was great.
Yeah, they go in there, and then all of a sudden these Chip and Dale dancers come out and
dressed in like American like Navy uniform.
Yeah, and then they strip down and start pulling all the girls onto the stage and dance with them, even the older ladies too, and they're all like, they're all getting red faced and like covering their eyes and stuff. And one of the strippers like pulls off the outer blouse of Jinder, and she's got bare arms with her undershirt, and you see bruises all over. And then they run out of there, and of course it's raining, and Ranjit's outside and is pleading for her to come back, and she's like, well, I wanted to come back too, and try this, but you've got to leave your family, because they're kind of, she blames the family, but you know, he is the one abusing her, so it's on him. But so she finally says, no, I'm not going back with you. And then then he just attacks her in the street. And then they go under the pier, and everyone's around, and he's screaming at her. And doesn't he hit her again under there?
I think so. But yeah, he just explodes. Yeah.
So, and then even what his more calm, rational brother, even he just walks away from him, like, and is just like, dude, this is stupid. It's like, but you know, he's like, you need to come back. And he was basically, I'm the man and you need to be the woman, and just, why do you make me do this? Just like any abusive relationship. Why do you make me hit you?
Yes, victim blaming and everything.
Yeah, so luckily she stands her ground there and says, no, I'm not going to do this.
With the help from
all of the friends. And that's the thing, is like, in the end, even the women who were shaming her, they see what he's doing to her, and they even come and say, no. You know, because, I mean, he's abusing her. I don't care what culture you're in. That's not cool.
Agreed.
So, but yeah, he was just a horrible person. So a lot of the stuff got resolved, and everybody kind of came together. And like I said, it was, I think the younger learned that some things you can't just go out and do, but like the older generation learned that sometimes you have to let go a little bit. So overall, what do you think of this movie?
I think it's a very solid first feature, and it's a very solid slice of life film that you really don't see that much anymore. At least, especially in mainstream film, you don't really get that. It's a sort of a smaller budget.
It really felt like a 90s independent feature.
In a good way or a bad way?
Not in either way. It just felt like one. I would agree. It's a solid debut, because I didn't think it was, you know, I'm not going to run out to see it again, but I would almost recommend it if you like anything else she's done, like Bend It Like Beckham or whatever. I think it's a different kind of movie, because I think this might have a more serious tone. Yeah,
Bend It Like Beckham is much more, had a goofier tone, more fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure Blinded by the Light probably does too, because, you know,
it's about Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, it's this guy who
Springsteen is all over the place.
Loves Bruce Springsteen, and but you know, it had a lot to say about Indian culture, and I feel like some of it was kind of hit and miss, and like they bring it up, but not enough that like it almost like wasn't enough in some of the instances. Like, so like maybe if they like cut back on a couple of ideas in there and focus more on the characters, but the characters,
some of it too is probably, you know, we're just a bunch of we're a couple of boring white guys from the Midwest. So
yeah, so it's...
I'm sure there's parts we're missing.
Oh, for sure. And so I can't comment on all that because, yeah, I'm Mr. White Privilege over here. So, but it is
get that as a name tag.
Yeah, Mr. White Privilege. It is a solid debut, and you really do get an arc with all of the characters for as much of an ensemble as it is. Some characters get more than others, but you really do kind of feel like you get closure, even if it's a little open-ended. You still feel closure there, and like there's an actual story arc with all these characters. So it was very well balanced and well made for a debut independent feature. So I would give it a recommend if this sounds like the kind of movie you would be into. But anyway, you can find it on Amazon Prime.
All right, so now we move on to our next segment, double feature. What do you think would make a good double feature for this one?
You know what popped into my mind right away with this one was because of all of the generational culture gaps was My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Well, Big Fat Greek Wedding is definitely more comedic.
It's very much more comedic, and I actually rewatched it again last night, and it's such a cute movie. I really like that movie, especially the father with the Windex cures everything. My elbow hurt last night, but it doesn't anymore because I put Windex on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is more about just the woman, played by Nia Vardalos, and she's got this huge Greek family, and they're all about culture, and they're even also that your job as a woman is to marry another Greek man and have lots of babies. That's your job. And she's like, I want more than that. I want to go similar to Hashida in Bhaji on the Beach. She wants to be
where the people are.
Yes. Well, actually, no, there was someone else. Her brother wanted to be the artist.
Yeah.
And then she wanted to go do stuff with computers. So she went and worked at her aunt's travel agency on the computer. And then she meets a non-Greek man. And, oh no. And, he's got a boring family, like just two parents that are just really weird.
Vegetarian. It's okay, we'll have lamb.
Weird and timid. Yeah,
there's some good jokes there.
Yeah, there's some great one-liners. Like even like Joey Fatone from what was he in Backstreet Boys?
Yeah, one of them.
I just love the scene where the one brother was saying to him, "You hurt my sister, I'm gonna kill you," and blah blah blah. He's like, "Oh, I got you. He's like, whatever, and then he says, "But seriously, when I'm ripping out your guts and and throwing them over there, and he's like, I got you again," and like he keeps doing that, but then he's like, "Hey," and he calls to Joey. I don't remember the character's name, and he just looks over and goes, "Hey, we're gonna kill you." It's just like this great like rapport with the brothers and the brother and the cousin there too. So. And it's really fun. And again, it's another one where, yeah, she met a non-Greek man and the older generation had to learn to accept that. And I like how the oldest generation was also like straight from Greece and she doesn't even know what's going on. She still thinks the war is going on. She just keeps leaving the house.
That's pretty great.
Where's Grandma? Oh, you found her again. Thank you. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff, even though Bhaji on the Beach was more drama and My Big Fat Greek Wedding was more comedy. I think it makes it good for a good double feature because of the culture aspect.
I guess,
of
yeah,
it.
and the culture clash.
Yeah. So it start with the drama and then end the night with a light comedy.
I guess I was more thinking of kind of the ensemble line, and you kind of take that and kind of blow it up to its maximum with the Robert Altman film Nashville, which is just this huge, almost more of a collection of short stories and ensemble films, and kind of how they all blend together, some kind of not. And with Robert Altman, especially in that era of his career, a lot of his stuff was improvised by the actors and sort of very much about kind of all these various plots all interweaving, some together, some not. So I think from an ensemble aspect, that's where my mind goes with Nashville, but also it's got some good country music from the 70s, so...
That's one Altman I don't know if I've seen. There's a few that I haven't seen of his. I've seen Popeye. He needs me, he needs me. He needs me.
Popeye is much catchier than it has any right to be.
I'm sorry, Robin Williams as Popeye. He's got that voice down.
That is very solid casting. He's got the voice, he's got the look.
He's fantastic.
Popeye's short. He's also short. He's very good at making the face. So,
and I love the giant forearms they put on him with the prosthetic forearms.
It's very cartoony, just like the comic.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to check out Nashville. All right. So that's our double features, and
now we just have the end of our series where we get to spin the wheel of fun.
So we're going to go to 70% or better. We're just going to go all genres again.
Sounds good.
And spin the wheel.
Spin, 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 spin.
We have a 2003 drama romance.
Oh, a dromance?
I apologize for the notification sounds.
Turn your phone on silent.
I don't know how to do that.
Because you're an old man.
Where's the button? Notifications, silent. They're gone. No more. Be gone with you. When he takes his girlfriend to a seedy abortion clinic... Well, this sounds...
Oh, boy.
Already. To a seedy abortion clinic in the back room of a combination hair salon / bordello, Guy Madden meets the madam's daughter and falls in love. Okay. But she won't let any man touch her until her father's murder has been avenged.
There's a lot going on here.
That is a lot going on.
What is the name of this film?
It is called...
Moulin Rouge?
Cowards Bend the Knee.
Interesting.
It is from... Okay, here's the tags. It says sports. I don't think that's right. That does not sound like a sports...
When I think of bordellos, I think of sports.
It's Country Canada. Canadian movie from 2003. Oh, it's only an hour and 4 minutes long.
Interesting. How many reviews does it have?
Let's check on that. It is 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this is the part where I go, we'll be back in just a few minutes, and then we magically come back. What did I say? Cowards Bend the Knee?
Yes.
20 critics. So 95%. 1,000 users have 89%.
I guess we'll go for that one then. Cowards Bend the Knee from 2003.
Oh. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes, it says, from the visionary mind of Guy Madden comes the wildly imaginative Cowards Bend the Knee, a semi-autobiographical tale of hockey, murder, lust, and guilt that plays like a dream.
I have never seen a Guy Madden movie, so I have no idea what I'm in for.
I have not either. Well, let's see. Let's explore on... Rotten Tomatoes. His highest rated movie is 100%, and it's called My Dad is 100 Years Old. And his lowest rated movie is 67%. So, he does pretty good.
Solid track record, okay.
And that movie is called Twilight of the Ice Nymphs.
Interesting.
So it sounds like he's got some... What has he directed? The Green Fog, Keyhole, Nightmare?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cowards Bend the Knee from 2003. And you can... It looks like you can find this on Canopy.
All right.
So, again, using your public library access.
Hooray for libraries.
So check that out, and we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about Cowards Bend the Knee.
Until then, bye. I don't have anything else to say.
Until then, Opa!
Opa, I guess.